What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here. Richard Sherman is a San Francisco 49er. He has signed a 3-year deal to be a 49er and play with under Kyle Shanahan, with Jimmy Garoppolo, and be a part of the 49ers for the next 3 seasons. I'm excited to talk about Richard Sherman and what he could potentially bring to the 49ers, why the 49ers made this move, why Sherman chose the 49ers. I'll discuss all of that. I want to hear from you guys live in the chat. This is breaking news. I'm really excited about it. Adam Schefter just reported it. 3-year deal, Richard Sherman to the 49ers. So, Richard Sherman, I believe, was listed to have been called by a number of teams. Like, this wasn't just like the 49ers were the only option. This guy was listed to have gone to potentially a number of different teams, and the 49ers were like the first team he talked to, the first team he visited with. He took no time to decide where he wanted to go. He obviously knew this was the place he wanted to go. This was obviously when they met with him was the place right off the bat where, boom, it blew him away. And Kyle Shanahan sold him, and John Lynch sold him to becoming a 49er. So it's very, very interesting that the 49ers have now signed Richard Sherman, and apparently it is a 3-year, according to Ian Rappaport. Richard Sherman, 3-year deal worth $39 million with a $5 million signing bonus. So, working out the contract details, if you're going by $39 million, I don't know how much of that is guaranteed. It doesn't seem like a lot of it is. But 3 years, $39 million. So $39 million divided by 3. So around like 13. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for Richard Sherman. So obviously they paid him. That's a lot of money. That's probably why he went this fast. That's probably why he made up his choice that quickly. Because $13 million a year, that's a pretty big price to pay for a guy that's coming off 2 Achilles injuries. So don't get me wrong. Richard Sherman is a really good player. Richard Sherman has been one of the best corners of the 2010s. He's arguably, not arguably, I would put him in the Hall of Fame, Richard Sherman. I think he's that good. I think he's one of the greatest corners of all time. But paying $13 million, I know it doesn't seem like a lot of it is guaranteed. I don't know what the exact figures are, but $13 million a year is a lot, again, for a guy coming off 2 Achilles injuries. The 49ers must feel confident about it. Obviously, the 49ers have the financial stability to make this move because they have a lot of flexibility within their cap to make this move. But I just find it very interesting that I didn't think that Sherman would, decide this quickly. And I didn't think teams around the league would be this quick to kind of decide on Richard Sherman. I kind of thought that it would take a little bit of time for Richard Sherman to decide where he wants to go. And I thought it would take a little bit of time for the 49ers to decide on Richard Sherman. But I guess first place he goes, he didn't go anywhere else. He decides to sign with the 49ers. Maybe he heard what other teams were offering. Maybe he heard what what was kind of, floating around the market in terms of what he was going to get on the open market. So it's interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the live chat. Richard Sherman is a 49er. Where does it put the 49ers now? That's what I'm kind of interested to think about. Because the 49ers, depending on how good Richard Sherman is, we don't really know. Is he Richard Sherman of his prime? Because if he is, we're talking about a 49ers team that could be in the playoffs. That's how game-changing Richard Sherman can be as a player. If it's Richard Sherman to a lesser degree, then I still think they need quite a few more moves. Don't get me wrong, the 49ers are a couple players away, but they have a lot of salary cap space. They have draft picks. They have a quarterback, which is the number one thing. They have an offensive mastermind. It's going to be very intriguing to watch the 49ers this year. And Richard Sherman just made them that much more interesting, that much more entertaining. And there's going to be that many more eyeballs on this team. I'm intrigued, man. Kill'em Boy says, damn, Mitch, the Patriots are second again. The Patriots didn't even actually put in any offer or even call to Richard Sherman, which a lot of people thought the Patriots were going to be one of the teams interested in Richard Sherman, but actually it just so happens that according to reports, the Patriots weren't even on the list of teams that contacted Richard Sherman to get an interview, to get a meeting, anything. The 49ers were one of them. 49ers were the team that Richard Sherman drew the most interest from, and obviously the 49ers probably, with a combination of that, probably offered him the most money as well. You have to think that that's also West Coast. That's also where he's from. He's from California. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well, you know. So he's going back home. But I think Richard Sherman, you know, wanted to stay West Coast. I think he obviously said he wanted to go to a contender. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And Sherman can bring in some great qualities. Even if he's not the same player he was on the field, he can bring leadership. He can bring a guy that's very intelligent on the football field. He can bring a guy that's been there in the playoffs if the 49ers make that run. He can help the 49ers grow their defense. He can help mentor a guy like Reuben Foster to stay away from some of these off-the-field issues that he's been having difficulties with. I think it's a wise move for the 49ers. You always need, as a young team that's coming up, a few veteran players with experience, a few veteran players that have been around. And I think Sherman not only brings a guy that can be a stud on the field, but he also brings in a guy that can be a leader in the locker room, a guy that has a unique voice amongst players, is very highly respected. And I think in San Francisco, he will be even more as a personality. He will even shine greater and be more respected in San Francisco than he was in Seattle. I know that Seattle gave him some leeway in how he was on the microphone, in press conferences, but you have to think about the difference between the cities themselves. I think that San Francisco will just bring another side of Richard Sherman. It's going to be very exciting to see Sherman there as a 49er. Maybe we'll see, you know, some flashes of some of the great corners that the 49ers have had in the past. Hopefully Richard Sherman is as great as he has been in the past. I'm hoping for the very best for Richard Sherman. Obviously, as a Patriots fan, I wanted to see him go to New England. But like I mentioned earlier, dude didn't even get contacted from New England, and it didn't seem like it was the right fit. And obviously, New England wasn't going to give him $13 million a year. $13 million a year, Sherman's laughing. Sherman's enjoying himself. He said he wanted to go play with a good quarterback. He's playing with Jimmy G, you know. So the 49ers have a very bright future. I've been saying that they could be the team that could shock a lot of people this year. Really, that last half of the season they had last year with the limited amount of talent that they had, it's just super, super impressive what the San Francisco 49ers have been able to do and build in such a short amount of time. We were looking at a 49ers team fresh off Chip Kelly, which was an absolute joke and a half. And now we're with a team with Kyle Shanahan, with this new regime that is looked at as the bright spot, one of the bright teams of the future in the NFL. It's just crazy how in the NFL nowadays you can turn around your team, and Richard Sherman's going to be a big part of that. Games for You says, I don't know if he'll be able to get back to that dominant role. Even if he doesn't, I mean, he'll probably still be good. Like, it's hard for him not to be good. He has just such intelligence for the position that it's hard for him, like I said, not to be good. He might not be great again because maybe his physical side of him may let him down. Like, his speed may not be the same it once was. But if Sherman, I can't see him being bad. Like, and I think he has the flexibility, even if he, you know, does take that step down from what I even expect him to. he could move to safety. He's that type of player. I feel like he is such a versatile talent that Sherman is going to be a success no matter what. I know one guy, Barry NWO, already said that Richard is going to be a bust in San Francisco. The way that the contract is structured, it doesn't seem like he can really be a bust, because it seems like there can be some flexibility, and if he doesn't perform the way that he's supposed to and doesn't live up to that contract, he doesn't really cost them any money to let him go. But I need to really see the specifics of the contract. And if you guys know those specifics, let me know. But it seems like $13 million a year. But San Francisco, I just think is going to be one hell of a fun team. So yeah, San Francisco, Michael Lombardi just tweeted San Francisco wanted Peters and Talib, and then they got Sherman. So also I've heard San Francisco is going to be in the market for Trumaine Johnson. It's going to be interesting to see if they go after another corner or what they really focus their free agency money on and what they focus their draft on. Because San Fran's still a team that needs a lot of different things. They need a receiver. They need a running back because Carlos Hyde isn't there. They need a tight end probably. They need maybe a pass rusher. They need safeties. They need corners. So at least this is one of the guys that they can bring in. And they're trying to bring in a guy like Sherman that has that experience. Slinky Dink says, I just also heard about this. Sherman sucks nuts. All right, that's nice. Sherman will be a mentor to Buckner and Thomas. Yeah, they play different positions, but I definitely think he can come in and with those young players, he can kind of the thing that Sherman brings to a team is I always like the Seahawks defensive players because they bring an edge to your team. Because when we saw that Legion of Boom at its peak, they had this edge about them that it was like you didn't want to mess with them. You didn't want to play there because they had this edge about him. And I feel like Sherman brings that swagger, and maybe he'll bring that to San Fran. Also, if there's a guy that knows more secrets about Seattle's defense than anyone, it's Richard Sherman. Slinky Dink says Sherman as a 49er is wow. I guess he's the new 49ers big corner. Yes, he is. Slinky Dink also says, I wish the Pats just let Malcolm play. We would still have him. Maybe, but I don't think they ever intended on paying Malcolm Butler. Barry NWO says, I thought that it was a foregone conclusion that the 49ers would sign Cousins. That was like a year ago. I thought that would happen like a year ago, but not anymore because they have Jimmy. Games, Malcolm to the Jets. That could happen. I think he's more likely to go the Dolphins, though, of any of the AFC East teams. But Jets could happen because they have the money, definitely. Malcolm and Sherman. I don't think Malcolm's going to go to the 49ers. I think Trumaine Johnson would be more likely, but, maybe Jimmy G brings him over there. Kill'em Boy says, Mitch, what does this mean next for the Patriots? A lot of people thinking that this was going to be the Patriots move to bring in Richard Sherman. Well, definitely. First off, $13 million wasn't going to be a price the Patriots were going to pay for Richard Sherman. So if you thought that was the case, that definitely you're dreaming there. But the Patriots, I think they're going to look to free agency. They'll probably bring in a cost-efficient free agent. They'll probably bring in a guy that they feel maybe a little undervalued in their system, maybe didn't quite get the playing time, or maybe just was out of place in a system in a different team. They'll bring him in, or maybe they'll go out and make a splash. I doubt it because they have Gilmore. But I think the Patriots, what they really need to do is they need to fix their front seven, because we saw with the Eagles had a weak secondary. And if you have a strong front seven, it's been proven that your corners don't matter as much. You really only need one good corner. Like, you only really need one great corner. And the 49ers might be trying to do the same thing here. They might be thinking that Sherman can come in and be their great corner. And yes, they're gambling with the Achilles injuries, but if anybody could turn around, it's Richard Sherman. He believes in himself, obviously, by his recent tweets. And obviously, he's already back and starting to run and stuff. So that was probably a big factor in whether the 49ers signed him now or later. because the 49ers probably sat him down and tried to see where he was in his recovery. But the guy is back, and it seems it's going to be very exciting. I'm excited. Even though I'm not a 49ers fan, I'm a fan of Richard Sherman. I've always been a fan of Richard Sherman. I love the way he plays. I love the confidence he brings. It's going to be awesome. NWO says the 49ers a contender on what planet in one universe? I think they could be a playoff team. I don't think they are a contender, but I think they definitely could be a playoff team, depending on what they do in the draft, depending on what they do in free agency, because they have two huge pieces. They have a coach I love, and they have a quarterback I love. And when you have those two things, you can be a playoff team, because their coach is arguably the best offensive coach in the game. They have a young quarterback, and you saw what they did with limited talent at the end of the last year, and that's what I've been saying. So it really depends on who they get. Brew City says, 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. 49ers first, 49ers fans first. Slinky says, Pats. I'm also a Pats fan, so I was kind of scared for the next season, Super Bowl 53. Slinky says he might go to Houston. What does this mean for Sherman? I think I covered that. Do you mean like his injuries? What exactly do you mean by that? Like, well, obviously, I kind of brought it up earlier, but what this means for Sherman is he went to Stanford. You know, he's from California. He has a lot of roots there in San Francisco. That was one of the big drawing forces of that. And I just think Sherman, he wanted to go to a contender. He said he wanted to go to a contender. And obviously he feels strongly enough with what the 49ers have built that they can be a contender within at least the next 2 seasons. And the 49ers probably sat Sherman down as one of their big pieces in their first piece to fall this offseason and said, hey, this is our plan in free agency. We probably think we're going to bring in this running back, this guy. We're looking of drafting this position. And that's probably what they thought. You know, maybe the 49ers go out and they sign a couple big free agents. You know, maybe they go out and they sign a Dion Lewis to play running back. Maybe they go out and they sign Jimmy Graham. You know, some stuff can fall into place. Maybe they sign Allen Robinson. So the 49ers have a lot of different options. That's why it makes them such an intriguing team. And I think that's also what Sherman was looking at. You know, not only did he want to go to a team that was a contender already, but maybe a team that he thinks has a bright future. And I think also money had a lot to do with this, because you look at that contract, that's a sizable offer for a guy that's been injured. Michael says, turn around 100% playing them in the NFC Championship, talking trash to Crabtree. I know, that's crazy, right? Like, Sherman's biggest moment of his career is his play against the 49ers, his post-game interview against the 49ers, and now he is a 49er. Isn't that just awesome? I don't know. I think the first post-game interview, Sherman needs to start off with his line that he started off with in that interview. Never try me with a sorry receiver, or something like that. I don't remember how exactly he started it, but like, he should just go on a rant like it was the post game of the Seattle San Fran game. That would be pretty awesome. Slinky says, I don't hate Sherman. He is just a crybaby. I don't think he's a crybaby. I just think he's competitive. A lot of people see it as crybaby. I see it as competitive. You know, people see Tom Brady as a crybaby. I see it as competitive. Some people see, you know, some of the things that Cam Newton has done is more on the crybaby area, but I still think Cam Newton is ultra competitive. You know, Phillip Rivers, some people see him as a crybaby. I see him as a competitive guy. So that's the way I see it. That's the way I see Sherman. And I see Sherman sometimes in Seattle. He was just trying to always do the thing that was right for the team. He was calling out Bevel because he saw that the Seahawks offense could be better, and that Bevel wasn't getting it done as offensive coordinator. And I know that's not exactly the place for a corner to be, but as a leader of a defense and as a guy like Sherman, who's a leader of the team, shouldn't he have the same right to call out a coach as the coach has to call out a player? So I feel like Sherman has just been a little bit misunderstood sometimes. Flamer says Malcolm to the Packers. Malcolm to the Packers, maybe. California football is coming back, 2K18. Sherman said he wants to play for a contender. Are they a contender yet? Yeah, I kind of answered that. What else here? You said it again. He'll fail. So are you willing to bet? I'll put $10 on it. Actually, if you want to bet $10 that Richard Sherman will fail in San Fran, I'll bet $10 on that. Cowboys fan says, "What do you think is to come for the Cowboys?" Cowboys, man. Right, we're talking about Sherman. I guess that you thought that Sherman had a chance to go to the Cowboys. But just my overall thoughts on the Cowboys, I think it's really wise that they got their boy back, DeMarcus Lawrence. They need to pay him. They need to pay Irving as well, because those are two guys that are studs on their defense that can be game changers on their defense. But they definitely need corner help. They could probably use a safety. I think their front seven is pretty sound. Offensively, I've been saying all year they need a receiver. They probably need a tight end. They need some playmakers on offense to get separation in the passing game. Their run game is solid. They might need to add an offensive lineman. But I think the Cowboys, if they have a solid offseason, solid draft, they could definitely be back in the playoffs depending on what they do. So I would say the top needs would be corner, safety, probably the right side of the line, or probably like right tackle, left guard, and receiver. Those would be the top needs for the Cowboys. Pats have no corners, says Charles. They do have Gilmore. Joe says, what's your percentage of success for Sherman as a 49er? My percentage of success for Sherman as a 49er, it depends what you mean on success. Like, do you mean like Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Super Bowl winner, or just good player? Like, I don't really know what you mean. But if I'm talking success, like not a failure in terms of the 49ers want to get rid of him within the first 2 years of the contract, I would say a success for this contract for Sherman would be that he plays at a good level for the 3 years that he's there. Maybe he makes 1 or 2 Pro Bowls. You know, maybe he's a good, solid corner, a guy that can be a number 1 corner. So that's what I would call a success. Now, I would say that his percentage of being a success is 70% because I believe in Richard Sherman. 30% being that those injuries might hold him back and he might be done. But I would say 70%. Chargers could be good this year, bro. I don't know why you're hating. Rams 49ers games will be lit. Yeah, I said that last year. Like, this could be a rivalry that's the NFL rivalry for like the next 10 years. We could very well see that happen. Zane says, will the Pats get any big deals done? I hope so. Well, they got Danny Shelton today. I think that's a positive trade. I think that they're also going to go after a linebacker, some pass rushers. But I'm looking forward to see what the Patriots do. I'm always intrigued with Belichick. You really never know what you're going to get with that guy. So I think a lot of people were looking at the Patriots to get a corner. I don't really think that's going to happen. They tried to get Talib. It didn't really work out. I think they're on to plan B now. I don't think they're going to go out and spend a ton of money on a corner when they did that last year. So I don't expect that to happen. I think they'll sign a corner. I just don't think it will be for big money. But I think expect pass rushers and linebackers to come in. Hot take, Aki. Hey, guys. Charles Alex says, what are the options for the Pats at corner and free agency? Let me pull up my corner chart. I have my corners here. If I could list all the players. So I know for sure, looking at the corners, the top corners on the board, Richard Sherman has signed. He is gone. Okay, so my first corner on the board is Trumaine Johnson. They could go after him if they want to spend a bit of money. Now, obviously, San Francisco, the Rams, they have both gotten corners. So Trumaine Johnson's left the Rams. He's not coming back. And San Francisco was the team I thought he might go to. They got Sherman, so that's off the board. So Trumaine Johnson is open. I like him a lot. He's very good. EJ Gaines of the Bills, I think, is a solid corner. Could be a good number 2. I think has a lot of potential. Patrick Robinson of the Eagles is a guy that is a corner that's a good slot corner, ranked as Pro Football Focus #1 slot corner last year. That could be an interesting signing. I don't think the Patriots really need a slot corner. I think they kind of need a guy that can go on the outside. Morris Claiborne is an interesting guy that has some potential, played pretty solid the last 2 seasons. Robbie Coleman for the Rams is another slot corner guy, very good. Jonathan Joseph and Brent Grimes are both veteran guys, and Rashawn Melvin played very good under the radar for the Colts next year. So those are the top corners on the board. There's also a lot of guys in the draft, but those are the top corners. What do you think the 49ers will do with their pick now that they got Sherman, or do you think they'll still get Ward? I think that they're likely to, it depends. Like I said, I think their needs are, they need still probably safety. They need corner probably still, even though I don't think it's their biggest need. I think probably safety. Like, okay, let's go by list of what I think they need first. That's tough. Like, I think they're solid in places. Like, I think they're solid at linebacker, but they can always add more. I think they're solid at D lineman, but they can always add more. I think they're solid at corner, but they could add more. I think they're solid at receiver, but they could add more. It depends what they do in free agency. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a running back in the mid rounds. The first round, I think, could be safety. I think could be offensive line, could be defensive line. I think those would be the needs that they could address. I don't think you would see them draft a receiver in the first round. I don't think you would see them draft a running back in the first round. So those would be probably my recommendations for 49ers. What happens? Benjamin says, damn it. Michael says, will this be the year when the Pats trade up? Like I said, I don't know. Possibly. I said earlier today that they could trade up. They could get a edge rusher, or they could trade up to get the quarterback of the future. That would probably be the 2 ways that they trade up. Johnson to the Packers. Everybody's going to the Packers, apparently. Slinky Dinky says DeMarco to the Bills. Like DeMarco the fullback, or DeMarco the running back? Because you spelt DeMarco like the fullback, but I think you mean DeMarco Murray. I'm not sure. Zane says, can Rowe step up as the number 2 corner? It's an interesting question. He's been good at times, but like, I don't trust him. That's the thing. Like, I think he can be the number 2 corner. He's definitely shown flashes. Like in the second half of this last Super Bowl, he played really well. In Super Bowl 51, when he covered Julio, he was really good. In certain games, he's played well, but I don't think he's consistent enough for me to really be confident. But then again, that all changes if you get a couple pass rushers and you're able to rush the passer. Then your corners don't matter as much. And just having that number 1 corner matters enough. So I feel like Rowe could still be good, but I don't think he's going to be like shut down or anything. You know, it's tough to answer that question. 49ers drafting Tremaine Edmonds, that could happen. The homeless Mexican is not very happy. Butler to the Lions confirmed, says Madden 44. Deshaun Watson for life. Hopefully Deshaun comes back. He's healthy. I hope so. I hope so. Slinking DeMarco. Okay, so DeMarco the fullback signed a 4-year deal with the Bills. Let me see. I bet Kevol's just pissed about this 49ers thing right now. Probably just rattled. Another interesting thing to think about here is that John Lynch is the GM of the 49ers. And if anybody knows aging DBs as well as anyone, it's John Lynch. John Lynch knows aging DBs. So I would think that John Lynch kind of has a sense of where Richard Sherman is at. I'm sure he turned on the tape to see, okay, how good was he last year? I'm sure a lot of that came into play with Richard Sherman was John Lynch's evaluation of him, because he's obviously the GM. He's obviously the guy making the core decisions. Him and Shanahan are kind of going back and forth with these, but John Lynch's experience and kind of expertise in that position probably meant a lot to this signing, I think. Jadeveon Clowney's in the chat. We got Jadeveon Clowney in the chat. Holy. Jadeveon, can I get your autograph, bro? Yeah. I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see Richard Sherman back on the field. I'm pumped to see Richard Sherman with the 49ers. I'm pumped to see the post-game interviews. I don't know really what else to say. It's going to be very interesting. Rusty says, should Miami draft a quarterback? They probably should, but they probably won't. We'll see. That's my answer. Do you think the Saints are utilizing Kamara well enough? Obviously. Did you watch last year? Kamara, nobody thought Kamara nobody thought Kamara was going to be as good as he turned out. Nobody thought Kamara was going to be the runner that he turned out to be. But not only was he a great pass catcher like everybody thought, but he was actually a great runner in between and outside the tackles. I think Kamara is going to be a great running back. He may never be as explosive as his rookie season. We've seen players in the past, their rookie seasons have been their best season, but I think he's going to be one of the best weapons in the NFL for a number of years to come. So I think that answers your question. Tom Brady's a GOAT. Yeah, hell yeah. Killin' Boy says, can I be a mod? Yeah, sure, bro. You deserved it. You deserved it. Jacob's Kid Club says, was Sherman's contract too much? In my opinion, I don't know the exact numbers. Like, I don't know how much is guaranteed, how much if they let him go in year 1, 2, 3, if it costs them how much. Like, I don't know those things. So it's tough for me to really say, because sometimes you could get $13 million a year, but if there's not a lot of guaranteed money, it doesn't really matter. So that being said, I think that Sherman's contract is undefinable right now, but $13 million probably seemed like one of the higher contract offers that he got to that point, because he wouldn't have signed that quickly if he thought that wasn't a great deal, because that was like the first team he visited was the 49ers. So rather, he was blown away with the plan of the 49ers. He was blown away by Coach Shanahan. He was blown away by John Lynch, or he was blown away by a combination of those things plus the money, because he wouldn't have gone to a team that was lowballing him right off the bat. He would have had to go to a number of places, seen what all the offers were, and then, okay, that's the best place where I can win. That's the best situation for my life. I'll go there even though I'm making less money. But because he got $13 million a year, I feel like that does have a lot of factor into why he signed so quickly, if that answers your question. All right. Sherman said he wanted to go to Contender, so. Tannehill's garbage, ? I'm not a huge fan of Tannehill. I don't think he's garbage. I think he's serviceable, but I don't think he's going to get you like a Super Bowl. Like, I think he's good, but I don't even know good. I'd say average. Like, he's like probably the 20th best quarterback in the league. No, Sherman should definitely not be paid higher. Brent Grimes was a beast. I don't know if he still is. Richard Sherman, you think was a really good idea. Achilles, how will this really affect his play? There should be some sort of deal in case he gets hurt. So yeah, I don't know either. But obviously they felt confident enough in the fact that he can run and that he can play at a decently high level, or they wouldn't have offered him this contract. It's as simple as that. And like I brought up, with John Lynch being there, that's a guy that knows DBs. That's a guy that knows how this injury will affect people. So that being said, he probably had a good idea on a good figure on how that's going to work. But I think it is a good idea. I think it was a good idea to bring Sherman in, because I think the positives outweigh the potential negatives. The potential negatives are maybe he's too slow and maybe he's not the same guy, but I still think he's going to be good, because Sherman is one of the smartest players to play that position. He's extremely instinctful. He's extremely resourceful as a corner. He knows how to play technically, very sound. So I don't think him being hit by speed would matter as much as other players. He is 6'3". He is physical. I don't think speed would matter as much to him to a player like Patrick Peterson, who relies a lot on his athleticism. So that being said, I think Sherman is a good deal. And not only the positives on the field, but the positives in the locker room. He's a leader. He's a guy that will speak his mind. He is a guy that will get his team motivated. He brings an edge to the organization. I think it outweighs the negatives. Isaac says 16-0 49ers. Sean the Savage says he said he wanted to play for a contender, but he was also willing to play for a young team if the situation was right. And if the money is right. So the money was obviously right. But I also think, Sean, that he thinks that the contender could be a young team. Like, I think he thinks that the 49ers can be a contender within the next year or so. Like, maybe they might not be a contender this year, but maybe next year they might be a contender. Maybe he's confident enough in Jimmy and in Shanahan and in their plan to go there and have success. Zane says the NFL needs to have the Pats play the 49ers, Brady versus Jimmy G. Hopefully it happens in the Super Bowl at some point. Brandon says, could you possibly see Sheldon with the same going to Detroit? Sheldon who? I'm confused. Could you possibly see Sheldon with the same going to Detroit? Someone clarify that for me. The Soundwave, what's up, bro? Says 49ers are going to get all the free agents now. Seahawks fans are burning Sherman's jerseys as we speak. I want a live camera on Kevol. I want to see if he is alive. I want to see if he has jumped off a bridge. Can somebody please get me a live camera on Kevol? William says, will Jimmy Garoppolo bring the 49ers to the NFC divisional? How will the Seahawks turn out? Do you mean the divisional round or do you mean win their division? It's two different questions. But I think that the 49ers could be a playoff team. It's tough in that conference. We'll see what they do in the draft again, like I said. But I think overall, the 49ers are a team that have a bright future, and the Seahawks don't. The Seahawks are a team, yes, they have Russell Wilson, but they've refused to surround him with an offensive line, and they went all in last year, and now they're having to recover. And yeah, the Seahawks might be good in a couple years because Russell Wilson takes that team somewhere. But I think this year, next year, we're looking at a Seahawks team that really needs to make quite a few strides to catch up to where the 49ers are going to be and where the Rams already are. What's up, Cowboy King? He's talking about Sheldon Richardson. All right. Thanks, Sean. Sheldon Richardson, he could go to the Lions. The Lions do need a pass rush. They do need guys on the D-line. It's going to be interesting to see what Matt Patricia and Quinn do with their first year together. Obviously, they brought back Ansah. They already re-signed Hyder. So they already feel like they've got a couple guys there. And that was their first intention. So obviously they feel like their pass rush is probably one of their number one needs. Richardson will probably visit there. The Lions will probably be interested. I'm not sure if he'll go there, but I definitely think he'll be on the board for them. I don't, if that answers your question. I'm not sure if he'll go there, but I think he'll be one of the options for them. Cowboys King says, I'm a 49ers fan because of my favorite player. Who's your favorite player? Free agency starts the 14th. I can't wait. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. Charles says, are you prepared for a potential rebuild for the Patriots in the future when Brady retires? I've been waiting for it for 10 years. No, maybe not 10 years, probably 5 years. I think every year since like 2013 has been a year where I was like, okay, is this the year Brady's going to fall off? Is this the year Brady's going to fall off? Is this the year Brady? But it hasn't happened yet. So it happens. I'll get over it. But man, I could have never asked for 7 Super Bowl appearances, 5 Super Bowl championships. I'm a happy man no matter what. AC tries to get under my skin about the Eagles beating the Patriots. Who cares, dude? It's icing on the cake at this point. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm playing with house money at this point. I never expected the Patriots to win this many Super Bowls. I never expected them to go this many Super Bowls. I feel great about the Patriots. So if they have to rebuild, they have to rebuild. Kill him, boys. Stop kicking people out that don't deserve to be kicked out. Can you not do that? I'm gonna have to take your moderation away. My team is the Patriots. Hank G says, how about the Cardinals? Cardinals need a quarterback. We'll start with that. I think they need some help on the offensive line. Defensively, I think it's pretty solid. The front seven is pretty good. I think they still need another corner opposite of Patrick Peterson. There's a lot of issues with Tyrann Mathieu. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone. So don't be surprised if Tyrann Mathieu is gone. Safety is good. I think the Cardinals aren't too far away from being a playoff team. I don't expect them to be this year, but with David Johnson back, I think it's going to be rough when you lose Fitzgerald. You'll need a receiver, and I think you should be planning ahead with that because you need some receivers there. But definitely start with a quarterback and then go from there. It depends on what quarterback you get. If you get a good quarterback, all things can change. So that's my thoughts on the Cardinals. Yeah, boo Pats. I'm used to that. Well, kill him. Bro, don't kick people out if they don't deserve to be kicked out. He was just asking a question. Go Saints, says Michael. Yeah, I hope the Saints do good this year. Sean says, Cardinals talk to Mathieu about a pay cut. They can work out his deal to push back the money. Yeah, I also heard that they might cut him. So, like, I don't really know. I don't expect that to happen, but obviously it could. So, you never know. Rusty said, which team will be the hardest for the Patriots in the East? Oh, it depends. The Bills don't have a quarterback at this point in time. The East looks worse already, which is weird. The Bills don't have a quarterback. The Dolphins have Tannehill back. The Jets don't have a quarterback either. If the Jets get Cousins, it will be the Jets. I'm going to suspect it's the Bills. But they need a quarterback first. But overall, no one. I think the Patriots probably, I expect them to be in the AFC Championship. Not saying Super Bowl champs or anything, but probably the AFC Championship again. Yes, I watch March Madness. Do you think the 49ers will make the playoffs? Like I said, I think there's a chance they make the playoffs, but I don't know. I need to see what they do in free agency. I need to see what they do in the draft. I think they're still a little bit away. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of faith in Jimmy. I have a lot of faith in Shanahan, but I still think they need a few things on their team. And that division is tough. And that conference is tough. Like, you're talking about a conference with the Eagles, the Cowboys are expected to be better. You have the Redskins still there hanging around. The NFC South has the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons, who all made the playoffs. The Bucks should be better this year. You have the NFC North with Aaron Rodgers back, the Vikings, who made the NFC Championship. You have the Bears, who should be better. You have Detroit with a new coach, who I think is better than their previous coach, and you have Matt Stafford. The NFC West has the Rams already. So I would say the 49ers, probably not, but there is a chance, depending on their free agency. But I wouldn't say that the Sherman move makes them somebody. Marlon, I agree with you. Sherman will be the voice of the 49ers. They need someone loud. Not loud, but confident. Bridgewater to the Broncos. My guess for the Broncos is Case Keenum. I think Bridgewater will probably go to Arizona. That's my guess. Who are the clear Super Bowl contenders? NFC, the Eagles. Again, the Vikings, depends if they get Cousins. If they get Cousins, for sure. If they don't, I don't know. I could see them taking a step back. I think that's how big this year is for the Vikings. They could rather be a contender, or they could be a team that entirely misses the playoffs. I think the Falcons could be good. I think the Rams could be good. Thinking about, it's hard to say because the entire free agency hasn't played out. The entire draft hasn't played out. I don't know how many times I have to say this, guys. But the Eagles are a clear Super Bowl contender. The Patriots are always a Super Bowl contender. And I think that's it. Clear Super Bowl contenders, like teams that I can clearly see to go to the Super Bowl, are those two teams that made the Super Bowl. The other ones, I think, all have questions. To be honest, Steelers have questions. Jaguars have questions. Blake Bortles is still their quarterback. I clear Super Bowl contenders. I think there's only two, and that will change after free agency, but we'll see. Does this deal make the 49ers Super Bowl? No, I don't think so. All right, I'll stay for a couple more minutes, guys. I'll stay for a couple more minutes, answer whatever final questions you have, and then I'll be out. But anyways, Richard Sherman to the 49ers. Like I said, I'm excited. He's going to bring a confidence. He's going to bring a swagger to San Francisco. He's going back home, and San Fran is, ever since Jimmy went there, I've been sort of, jumping on that bandwagon a little bit in terms of I want to see them do well. Not saying they're my favorite team or anything, but I want to see them do well. So I think the 49ers made a nice move today. I think the 49ers are making strides to being a playoff team. I think they're making strides to being that much more competitive with the Rams. And I'm looking forward to seeing those games. Okay. Well, answering these questions. Do you like the Panthers? They're not my favorite team, but I don't mind them. Like, I like Cam. I like the Panthers overall. Like, I don't hate them. I like cheering for them sometimes. My best friend is a Panthers fan. So I usually find time to cheer for them if it's a game where they're playing just two teams that I don't really care about and they're playing, I usually tend to cheer for them. So I don't mind the Panthers. 49ers says, 49ers fan says, who do you think is the greatest quarterback of all time? I think it's Tom Brady at this point. I think it's pretty clearly Tom Brady. Second, I would have Montana. Third, I would have Peyton. That would be my top three. Does Ward from Ohio go to the 49ers? I don't think so. Maybe. I don't think so. I think I'd rather them get a pass rusher or, a linebacker rather than another corner. But, we'll see. Maybe. Sean the Savage says, Bortles actually played well in the game against the Pats. He needs help out of Fournette. Well, that's a different topic for a different day. But anyways, Jamar says the NFC West is a very interesting division, expect at least 3 playoff teams. 3? I think maybe 2. Who do you think the 49ers will draft? Stay tuned for mock drafts on the channel, and then I'll let you know. How about that? But I named the positions. What do you think the Steelers should do this offseason? Maybe I should just have a Q&A like this weekend sometime. Should I do a Q&A tomorrow? Because I'm kind of exhausted. I've done 3 videos today. Jordan says, who do you think the Steelers should do this offseason? I think they need a linebacker. I think to replace Shazier, they need corners. I've always said that in the corners, they need safety the most. So safety, corner, linebacker, defense. I think their D-line is fine. Offensive line's fine. I think figure out the Bell situation. You're all good on offense. I don't think you need much on offense. Maybe a young quarterback, but that's it. I think your defense needs all the work, and I think that's the same for the Patriots too. Omar says, how do you feel about the Saints? I think the Saints can be a contender this year. I think if there's anyone that can knock off the Eagles, it could be them. If you want to know how I feel about Tyrod Taylor going to the Browns, check out my other video. I made a video about it. Thanks, bro. I'm gonna do you think the Browns will be good? Again, check out my other video. Go subscribe to the channel. Check out my other video, bro. Jamar said, I heard Tyrann Mathieu is getting cut. Yeah, that's... Patriots are in the market for a corner. I'll just keep bringing that up. I think Detroit, Oakland, Green Bay. Trying to think of other teams. Saints, maybe? Okay, I'll end the video by saying this. What will the record for the 49ers be, says Alan. I'm going to say at this point in time, 9-7. That could change. Harbaugh says, where does Butler go? Okay, I'm going to do a Q&A tomorrow. How about that? I'll see you guys tomorrow. And if you don't know what time, follow me on Twitter at Mitch Milani. It's in the description, the second one, or you can follow the first one, which is our channel's Twitter, and we'll let you know there when we're going live for a Q&A. I'll do a Q&A on free agency tomorrow to answer all the big questions. If you guys aren't already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell to let you know when we're going live. All right? So if you don't have Twitter, hit the notification bell. It will immediately update you on your phone or update you via email so you know when we're going live. All right? Thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, again, subscribe, like the video, and have a good night. Peace.